Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It? The series where I share my review and my opinion on different video games that I've experienced. Let me ask you this, do you like Dark Souls? Do you like anime? Then get ready for Code Vein. Code Vein was developed by Bandai Namco Studios and was published for themselves for the PlayStation, Xbox and PC in May 2019. As I described, it's a combination of anime meets Dark Souls. But what is Dark Souls? Dark Souls is a popular game series that are notoriously known for their difficulty. These soul-like games are usually played in third-person perspective and they focus on exploring various maps similar to Metroidvania games. A big factor of soul games is that they have a lot of boss battles that the players are required to fight in order to proceed and have a huge penalty for dying. The combat focuses on recognizing attack patterns, timing both attacks and dodge, whilst always paying attention to both the environment and the stamina of the hero. Furthermore, the heroes can upgrade their equipment and gear near a checkpoint known as the bonfire and use only a couple of items either to heal or upgrade themselves. Dying in Souls games respawns the player in the last checkpoint, in this case the bonfires, whilst their currency is placed in an area where they died and the player will have to travel all the way in order to recollect them. Famous to the genre are Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne and Sekiro. Code Vein was highly anticipated from both sides and for big reason. The game looked good and the developers improved the combat speed based on given feedback. Upon its release, the game had a standard version, a deluxe edition, and a special collector's one. The story takes place in a fictional world that suffers from a mysterious calamity known as the Great Collapse. Mysterious monsters began to appear around the world with the sole purpose of killing every single human. To counter these monsters, the humans created a program known as the Revenants. Revenants are human corpses who were brought back to life by implementing a special parasite within their hearts. The Revenants can be seen as vampire fighters with unique abilities. Revenants have two weaknesses, their hearts and their thirst for blood. I will not spoil the story as I believe it's very good, but I will mention a very brief synopsis of each chapter based on how I separated them. It's not official, but it's how I made it. The first chapter is basically the prologue, where the hero wakes up and gets to know about the world that they are living and making few friends. It's a very simple and subtle story that sets the atmosphere and everything that is to come. The basic idea is that after certain events, the hero's blood is capable of reviving blood springs, which is a plant that grows seeds of blood, an alternative resource instead of human blood. This ability surprises the new ally, who wishes the hero to join him in order to revive all the dead springs. Chapter 2 has the hero and his new friends traveling from place to place, reviving blood springs, and also encounter people who will play a crucial part in the story. The third chapter is called the Guardian chapter, as the party becomes aware of the Queen's revival and how the Guardians, who were meant to steal her away, become weaker and weaker. The party proceeds in order to check on the Guardians. The final chapter has a conclusion which comes with 3 alternative endings based on the player's action: the good, the bad, and the null endings. Before the first Guardian, an NPC explains to the player that by collecting the Guardian vestiges and restoring them, the Guardians will help regain their powers. The endings are based on this factor. For example, restoring all the Guardians gives the good ending, restoring some of the Guardians will give the mediocre ending, and restoring none of them will reward the bad ending. All 3 are required for 100% completion, and each reward, as each of them rewards the player with a blood code, which I will explain later on. Also important things to know is that the game requires to see all 3 endings with one hero and not 3 separate, as the codes are rewarded to that hero specific and not the account. The story of the game is fascinating. It goes hard when it wants to and it knows its strengths. It's very simple to follow and it's separated in 5 chapters that are easy to follow: the prologue, the Bloodspring Hunt, the hero's origin, the Revenant's quest for the Guardians, and finally the conclusion of the saga. Typical to an anime, it has plenty of anime cutscenes filled with voice acting and extraordinary music. The mystery and character development for most of the party is deep for some and slightly off for others. However, in a magical way, it captures the interest of the player to care about them, whether or not they have an impact to the main story. For a Souls-like game, it manages to make the entire game a unique experience of its own. If the player wishes to relive the story or certain cutscenes, there is an option available where the player can visit the hot springs and relive a memory. It's not level select or anything, it's only for the cutscenes. The game begins by allowing the player to create his own character. The game's character creator is gigantic and has an option for everything. The game was heavily praised for its customizable options and should become a go-to to every developer who wishes to create a game with character creator. The player can select gender first and then the main attire out of 6 given styles. Then the player can customize the height and weight of the vampire. Then it's fun time. The player can customize the skin color, the type of chin and nose. Following the selection, the next option is to choose hairstyle, combination of colors, shadow effects, and glowing effects. Once the hair is done, the player can customize the eyes. The first option available is to have odd eyes, meaning that both eyes will be different. Then the player can customize the pupils, the style, the size, the color, and the shape. Along the eyes, the player will have to choose eyebrows out of the 300 plus available options. Once the face is done, the player can choose to customize the makeup and tattoos of the hero, if any. Furthermore, the players can customize their masks. Since the Revenants need to protect themselves from breathing a stigma, they need to wear masks, and they need a mask holder. The last customizable option is the cosmetics. There's plenty of them, and all are available for different locations of the body, whether it's the back, the hands, the face, the hair, the neck, the wrist, the legs, and plenty of others. It can take hours to make an avatar. I personally spend around 4 hours for all of my 3 heroes. The players move around in a 3D world. Similar to the Soul series, the maps are hidden until the player reaches the bonfire, which in this case is a blood-spring missile, which will reveal a portion of the map close to its radius. The players can save, upgrade, and change code whilst in the missile. The missile also acts as a respawn location in case that the player die. If the player falls, their haze will drop to 0 and the player will have to travel in the area where they died to recollect them. Haze is this world currency. The haze, given that the player died, is represented with red flames and as a giant red dot in the map. Collecting them, whilst already collected new ones on the way there, will simply add the new ones to the total. However, dying will instantly remove them from the game. Unlike the average Soul series, the game has a partner system where the player will always have an AI character from the group to join them while freelancing and whilst in combat. The players are free to do whatever they desire as long as they have stamina. The stamina is consumed when the player sprints, fights, and blocks. It also refills when the player stays away from action. Before mapping the controller, the player can choose between one of the 4 classes: single weapon, heavy weapon, spear, and bayonets. Light weapons deal less damage and consume less stamina, which is the opposite of the heavy weapon. And bayonet is a build used for range attacks, however it can be used as a light weapon in case of a close combat. It is important to state how the hero can hold up to 2 weapons. The players move around with L3 and controls the camera with R3. Tapping L3 places the target on a certain enemy. Square is used for light attacks and consumes less stamina. Triangle is used for heavy damage and consumes more stamina. Holding it down will create a more powerful attack. Circle is used for dodging. Based on the weapon and armor, the player will have different dodges. Heavy armor will roll slowly away, whilst light equipment will slide away. Circle and attack buttons will dodge and instantly attack upon recover. X is used for special attacks. The players have different specials based on their equipment. Attacking with X is known as the Drain attack. Draining enemies restores blood veil points, which are used to use special attacks, known as gifts. Gifts are used with R2. Holding R2 opens a menu with 8 buttons, 4 of them being mapped with the keypad, whilst the others are the X, circle, triangle, and square. The gifts have certain amount of points locked on them in order to use, so use them with cautions. These gifts can be buffs, specials, and magic casting. Blood veil points are gathered by dealing damage to an enemy or using the blood rain attacks. L2 is used for parrying. Perfect timing a parry will trigger an animation that deals plenty of damage. L1 is used for guarding, while R1 is used for sprinting. R1 can also be used with combination attacks. R1 and square and triangle are base attacks with the sword. However, R1 and X will trigger a slight blood veil attack that helps to drain more blood from the enemies. It's not as powerful as solo X, but it's really good to combo with. Last but not least, the keypad is used to maneuver in the inventory. Left and right is used to maneuver, and down is to use the item. These items can be elemental boost and healing items. The up arrow is used to swap between the second weapon. The player dies when their HP drops to 0 and the teammate fails to revive the hero, and when the player falls out of the map. Keep in mind, this is a Souls-like game, so death should be expected, and there is no invisible walls to protect the player from falling. Code Vein, similar to other Soul games, allows online multiplayer. Whilst on the pause menu, the player is allowed to send a distress signal, and any player online who currently searches online can come to aid him. There's an option to play with a friend by specifying a code or password which will allow anyone to find the signal if they type the same password with the player. Those who join will automatically be scaled down so that they will not be overpowered. They can still use gifts obtained from blood codes ahead of the story, but the damage will not be the same. At the same time, the main boss encounters are also scaled up, given that instead of fighting 2 people, the hero and the AI, they'll face 3. If the player who joins, the player who sent the signal, and dies, then the distress signal will be lost and that player will transfer to his own server. Helping people online rewards the players with rank points. By exploring the maps, the players can collect blood vestiges. When interacting with EO in the hub world, the players can restore these vestiges. If the hero collects all the vestiges of certain type, a blood code will become available. The blood codes consist of the gifts, which is this game's special attacks. The players can equip them while resting on a spring missile. Mastering a gift allows the player to equip that certain gift in a different blood code. Codes themselves have their own unique abilities and the player should pay attention on what blood codes for. For example, certain blood codes are stronger in combat while others are mostly for spellcasting. So if the build you're willing to do is a spellcasting, then you should equip that blood code and then master gifts from the other ones in order to place that on that. Overall, Code Vein is a unique experience that combines the soul-like games with the real world of anime. The story of the game is really deep with a lot of details on creating a dark world and interesting characters, some of them with deep development while others with not as much. The entire story can last up to 30 to 40 hours and the entire game is fully voice acted. The music is extremely good and it knows what track suits what scene, in-game or combat or freelancing. Post-game content can be found in the exploring depth maps. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comments below what are your thoughts on the game and whether or not you're gonna play it. If you want more details, you can check my official website, links below, where I go into further more details than the ones mentioned in this video. Take care and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!